Hey guys, welcome to After Hours. Today we've got the amazing Gary Mairs, who is Sober in Sound on Instagram. He's also got the podcast, The Sober Stretch, with his pal Craig. It was a really good kind of conversation. Felt like there was this. I mean, Gary and I have been following each other for maybe about a year, but it's the first time we spoke, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how he felt, but it felt like just a couple of old mates who used to go out on the piss, having a chat about old times. It was really insightful. We're very similar on just the kind of total wreckhead attitude. There's all very well being social drinkers and partying, but Gary, like myself, would always just push it to the last man standing, which he would be, or last man to black out and just pass out somewhere. He did a lot of kind of moving about geographicals. So yeah, it's there are moments in the conversation that are pretty dark, and so always a trigger warning on the episodes, but there's such a lovely story of hope, and Gary's just coming up on, I'll need to double check this, but I think it's going to be 12 years in 2 weeks' time. So the 14th or the 15th of April, one of those. So when you're listening to this, I think it will just be like a week until he's 12 years. So yeah, well done and kudos to Gary. Yeah, just a really good episode. Really enjoyed speaking to him. He's only had his Instagram, I think, about a year, just maybe 18 months. Sober N stretch. Uh, what am I talking about? Sober and Sound, and then his podcast, The Sober Stretch. Yeah, as I say, they've both been going just over a year, and just an amazing powerhouse on Insta and the podcast. So get a listen. Obviously, these will be in the show notes at the end. Well, not at the end, but on the podcast. So yeah, follow him, give him a listen, and have a listen to Gary's story here. Cheers, guys. See you at the end. Gary Mayers, welcome to After Hours, mate. How are you doing this evening?
I'm very well, thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah.
good. Standard kind of day, but yeah, keeping well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a gardener, so this weather we've been having, it's like a mini heat wave in the middle of March. It's been amazing. So this is
Sorry,
this.
where are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm on the Isle of Man. So from Glasgow originally, but we're living in the Isle of Man now. So I actually moved here during lockdown. So I used to live here like 2008. I mean, I've done a lot of geographical. So my brother had lived here and then moved over here in 2008 for a couple of years. Went back across, absolute carnage. And then my folks had moved over here again in 2018, I think. And then
Yeah.
during lockdown, I was just in a bit of a mess. So I came over here and I got sober and I stayed. So, and my life is just, kind of changed for the better. So, but anyway, this isn't about me, Gary. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about your childhood and when you had your first drink. We'll take it from there.
I mean, on paper, I had the best childhood ever, really.
Hmm.
I had loving parents, only child. We moved to leafy suburbia of Cheshire when I was 5 to a really like nice area, famous little town village, really, where all the footballers live. Alderley Edge.
Nice. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So then I went to a private boys' school, and my dad was my best mate, and always got on great with my mum. So like on paper, it was all good, and um, popular at school, no issues with that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then I've actually been looking into a lot, trauma-based things recently regarding alcoholism, and I've always said, "Oh, you've never really had any trauma as a kid,"
Yeah.
but the more I look into it, I didn't have any family trauma, but I think I did have some individual trauma, and I'm not sure if that sparked something in me. But when I was 13, I developed really bad acne on my back, and by I
Right.
mean bad, I meant I had to sleep on my front for about 20 years.
Jesus.
And yeah, I was awful, and I took
What,
a very
because of the
powerful,
pain? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
Jesus.
boils, excruciating. And I played rugby and football. You know, it was awful. It was really very painful.
Yeah.
And I took a drug for that, and it subsequently got taken off the market. It did a lot of good for my skin, but it really spiraled me into a bit of a depression, to be honest.
Hmm.
I don't actually remember how old I was when I started taking that, but that kind of changed me a little bit.
What was it called, and why did they take it off the market? Was it because of depression and things like that?
Yeah, it was called, I think from memory, it was Roaccutane. And
Right.
I think there's a current guise available on the market called Accutane, but Roaccutane back in the 90s, children were like teenagers were taking their lives and things
Oh
from,
shit.
yeah, yeah, really pretty dark. So it got whipped off the market. I think that's the memory I have of it, but it was
Yeah.
certainly like in the press. And I had my first drink the night of the opening lottery. Um, the first night Noel Edmonds did it.
Yeah. How old are you guys? What year were you
I-
born?
I'm 44. I'm born in 80.
Yeah, same as me. So I've just had my 45th in February. So
Right,
yeah,
we're
so we're bang
well,
on the
the
same age, mate. Yeah,
similarities are wild, mate. Honestly, like in our
absolutely. And
lives.
so what age was that when the National Lottery was that 96?
No, I googled it. It was November 95, so it'd have been 14.
14, yeah.
Yeah. Um, no, excuse me, it had just turned 15, and that was my first drink. And I remember, honestly, Jimmy, I remember feeling woozy and wonderful from it.
Hmm.
I remember thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to blag another one here because this feels great. And I'm not sure if that was it.
Where were you and what was the situation? Like what?
I was in my mum and dad's lounge. It was like controlled environment. Oh, have a
Yeah,
beer, you know.
yeah.
You know, my dad's a drinker. I'm a football fan. He's a football fan. Said this before, but United won the league in '93,
Hmm.
and then I was old enough to kind of be taken to the pub because we
Yeah.
didn't have Sky. And then United went on this mad. I'm a United fan, obviously. Went on this mad successful run, and it was just pub all the time as a teenager. And then not just with my dad, I was just going with my mates as well. It was the culture. It was the '90s. You know, what did you do? You got pissed and listened to Oasis.
Was our whole social kind of outlet in those days. And it was like if you were going out and socializing, then you were drinking, and it doesn't matter that, I was 14, you were 15, whatever. That was our era, and that's what everyone was doing on TV. Like I remember I spoke at the best a few weeks ago, TFI Friday. I can't remember when that came out, but it was mid to late 90s, and it was set in a bar, and it was on at 6 o'clock in the evening. I think it was on like after Neighbours. So instead of watching the news, you'd switch over and you
Yeah.
had Chris Evans in a bar just like, and do you know what I mean? It was mental. It was.
Well, how are you supposed to not get into that? You know, I was talking about TFI Friday recently, and you know, you've got. I make it quite abundantly clear on Sober and Sound that I'm a massive Oasis fan, but I'm also a massive Charlotte and Stone Roses Smiths fan. You know,
Yeah,
so it's peak time, peak location. Lived like 12 miles from where the Gallagher's Grew
of
up.
course, yeah.
So we were all upset, all of us obsessed
Mm.
from the off. You know, and TFI. You know, you got your heroes. You come home from school on a Friday, ready for the weekend, and all your heroes are getting smashed at 6 p.m.
Yeah, you've got Black Grape, what was his name? Bez and
Sean Ryder and
Sean
Bez.
Ryder, like swearing his ass off doing that. I think he did a cover of Pretty Vacant by
Yes, they did. I
Sex
remember
Pistols,
that.
and it came back up to Chris Evans because he just swore his ass off. After that, I had to have a 30-second delay, but it was 6 o'clock and he was just fuck this and fuck that. Yeah.
I remember it. I remember that vividly. That exact
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, and you know, then
So,
things like The Word. Got a TV in my bedroom, and on Friday night watching The Word. You know, and
yeah.
everyone's pissed. The bands are smashed. Yeah, it was very unlikely to get out of the '90s without a drink problem. I think.
What hope did we have? Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think, sorry to go off on a tangent here, but I was thinking this the other day, and I'm thinking like the majority of people at our generation and our age, that I still see a lot of mates and people I grew up with and all that, and they're still going out and getting smashed. Do you know what I mean? I went to see Groove Armada. Yeah, Groove Armada a couple of years ago down in Brixton Academy, and it was great because it was like an amazing gig. I was sober, but it was just loads of rec heads like from back in the day, and they're obviously in their like 50s, 60s now as well. And you're just thinking these people don't want the party from the 90s to end. They just really don't want it to end.
They either don't want it to end or they can't let it end. And I
Yeah,
think there's a lot in the latter. And I think a
yeah,
lot of them are on Instagram trying to get sober. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
think, I'm
it's
sure of it, because you can't actually love that still.
no, no.
There's only so much you can take.
I think the last time I went out and had a proper mad mashup night was we went to something in Leeds because I lived in Leeds for a bit, and we went to this. It wasn't Bingley Festival. We went to that the week before, but this was one of the clubs in Leeds. Can't remember the name of it, but they did like a festival out in the park. And me and my mate went, and we just got all sorts of naughty stuff and just went on it. And I must have been about 37, 38 at that point. And it was like, do you know what I mean? I had a great night, but it was just, but then you've obviously got the come down and all of that. And I just don't know how people are still doing it at 50, 60 or whatever. So, yeah, but as you say, they probably can't. That's what they're locked into. And it's difficult to get out of it, as we know. So how did your kind of like teen years and when did you start kind of thinking, or yeah, I mean, it might have been later on. How were your teens and your twenties and that? Because you spent a bit of time abroad, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Knew I I knew it was a problem before I left school when I was 18. I knew, and I've said recently on Sober Dave's podcast actually that specifically this. I remember one night in a park, pissed out my head with my mate, saying, I've got a problem with this. This is getting, I don't have control
Mm.
over this." And like my teens were good. I had a right laugh at school. I had plenty of mates. We had a very busy social life. Friday night hammered, Saturday night hammered,
Yeah,
from the off. But I was a volatile nutter straight away,
yeah,
an absolute head case, like caught in trouble, wanting to kick off. I was a football lad, but I went to this private boys' school and the rugby team. I played rugby because I wasn't allowed to play football.
yeah. Private school,
But
yeah, yeah,
on Friday, Saturday night when we were all out, I'd like mouth off like a football lad, and they're all rugby, and I was getting my head kicked in or trying to get people were trying to batter me even at that age just because I was all
yeah,
lit. But I was embodied. I know it sounds mental, and my mum saw it at the time. I was trying to embody the indie rock and roll Gallagher kind of
yeah,
vibe. I really was. I was all over it. Like I was all over it.
yeah.
And it just meant that it spilled over, and I was just a fucking knobhead when I was smashed. I was
Well, that's the
hilarious to a
thing.
point, and then I was a twat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I wasn't much of a fighter, but I did used to be very mouthy with people, and I did get myself like my head kicked in a couple of times. You know what I mean? I was talking to someone the other night on here, and I think my 21st birthday, we were at a club in Glasgow, and I was being mouthy because I used to just not. I was a bit like transient in the club. I was go and disappear off to see what adventures I could get into rather than
Yeah,
just sticking with our crowd, and then I would just come back and float off again. So I would obviously more often than not get into some sticky situations. I could normally talk myself out of it, but I remember on my 21st, I got kicked in and got kicked out of the club. So it was a great night. And that's at my 21st. I mean, so I guess I was kind of similar to you. I did really start noticing there was an issue. But I didn't have an off switch. That's the thing, you know.
same.
People would have an allocated amount in their head what they were going to have for that night, but I was just like constantly trying to push it and want more and more and more. Yeah, and the thing is you're saying alcohol. It is an aggressive drug. It turns people completely different from their normal characters. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like it's this weird thing. Most used drug in the world and completely changes people's characters. Now, I know there's a lot of people that can drink and they only have a couple or whatever, and they're fine. But more often than not, like if I go out and people are having a few drinks, by the time they get third or fourth pint, I'm like, yeah, I'm ducking out of
I'm
here.
gone. I really can't be around people that are pissed now. And it's not because of nothing to do with the temptation or the uncomfortable emotion around it. Like that's long gone.
Yeah,
I just think my first thought is, Jesus, I was like this, and I used to talk shite like this.
yeah.
And it's just nauseating repetition that is weeks, months, year, decades, and suddenly it just slides out of control. And I was just insatiable. Like you ask where it was going wrong.
Mm.
I mean, when I got to uni, I was a mess straight away just because I had all the cash, the loans every
Yeah,
3 months,
yeah,
just getting an injection of cash, ridiculously cheap booze, all my mates were smash heads, started to get into ecstasy, and suddenly I was like, oh God, this is bad. And then I didn't pay my rent in my halls of residence,
Hmm.
and the stress started to kick in. Then I had to get the hardship loans, and I was supposed to pay the rent off with that, but I didn't. I just got pissed with it, and I remember lying in bed my first year at uni, thinking, "Fuck me, is this what adulthood is like? Have I been sold a lie?" I
Yeah.
really I couldn't sleep at night in my first year at uni, just trying to the nights I wasn't arsehole, just trying to work out where it had all gone wrong. Even at that age, it was really sad, really.
Yeah, and the thing is, at uni, they like I'm sure they still have Freshers Week, and that is just mental. It's like rather than telling people, right, you got 3 or 4 years to knuckle down, get your work done, and then you get your rest of your life to do whatever you want. But actually, in the first week of university, you've got no lecture, so just get as fucked as you want and meet all people that are going to be your tribe, and you're probably going to be like you're wet behind the ears, you're new to this. A lot of people, not saying you or I was, but like they fall in with people, and it's just, do you know what I mean? A lot of people, that's it, their uni careers wrecked from the off because they become they're away from home and they think, well, I can do what I want here, and then everyone's just going out and it's party party party, apart from the ones that actually just knuckle down and get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was no way I could do that. I have undiagnosed ADHD, but I've got ADHD with fucking bells on, and I know it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not daft. And I
Yeah.
look back, and I actually, if I track a day in my life, it's like debilitating almost every minute of the day. It's just
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
exists in my head. And I look back, and there was no chance of getting a control of it. No
Yeah.
chance. The dopamine search through gambling, pills, weed, bit drink, shagging, whatever. I was just like, I
Hmm.
need to do it all, and I need to do it yesterday. And
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care when I'm drunk how much it's going to cost me or the destruction that's coming. I'll deal with that tomorrow. And
Yeah.
how I dealt with it the next day was to drink again.
Yeah. So
And that
that
was
was, so you're what, like maybe what, 18, 19 at this point, and
I
then
went to university the week of my 19th birthday. So yeah.
so you're already in the kind of drinking through the week type thing, and wake up morning drinking.
Oh, straight away, mate. Straight away.
State of the
Quite
dog, isn't it?
soon. Oh, straight quite soon into my like time at uni, I got in a fight in the student union.
Mm.
Um,
Where were you at uni? Sorry, where were you?
Hull.
Oh, all right, okay. I spent a bit of time up in Hull. I didn't it was actually Willerby outside Hull.
Ah,
I
yeah.
was there before I moved to Isle of Man, so I didn't really go out in the city much, but we did have one Black Eyed Friday up there. So anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, it was great for a night on the piss, and we go to
Yeah.
Leeds a lot. Saying I like Leeds a lot. It's a really nice city. My best mate's from Huddersfield, so I'm like my partner's dad is Yorkshireman and a proper Yorkshireman. So I love
Yeah.
Yorkshire.
Oh, it's a great place. I loved
Oh,
living there. Yeah, yeah.
people are amazing. Um, but uni, what was I
You're
saying?
saying you got a fight with this guy?
Yeah, and then I got banned from the student union for 3 months because of the fight, and I was going down because I couldn't drink in there. So even at 19, I was going down to the Old Grey Mare, this pub across the road from the uni, and just drinking when it opened at 11 o'clock. So like destined to be an alcoholic,
See, I
destined.
I went back to university. So I did a lot of college in my 20s, and then I went back to university when I was 32. And this was one of my kind of change in my life. I've moved back from London. I'm staying with the folks for a bit. I'm going to go to university. I'd never been to university. This is a big change in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give up boozing because I'm not an alcoholic at this point. I was, but I'm going to change my life and I'm going to go to uni anyway. Uni was just a bit of a fucking headache. I was 32. I think the closest one to my age was about 28, 27. But I remember one day we were in a lecture and it was probably about nine, half nine or something. And one of my mates, her name's Wednesday, she came in. She's not one of the Adams family, but she came in and she was absolutely hanging. And I think she was like 19, 20, and she was like, "Oh, I'm absolutely hanging." And I was like, "Right." we're leaving this lecture at the break time and we're going round to your student union. We're going to get you a couple of shots. That was me at 32, trying to be the sensible,
Yeah.
mature one. Do you know what I mean? And then teaching these kids how to do the hair of the dog. I think me and her just got on it all day, and a few others came and joined us, and that was it till like 10 o'clock that night. It was just carnage. Do you know what I mean? And here's me trying to. I could say that they were leading me astray, and maybe me leading them astray, but it was just me. Do you know what I mean? I would just find these kind of situations and find the drinkers and get on with it. Or if they weren't there, I would
Yeah.
just go into it myself. Yeah.
Same. I never cared if I didn't have a drinking partner. I never gave a fuck. I could go into an old man's pub and sit there for 9 hours with a paper and read it covered, on a Sunday and not talk to a soul. I was just that
Yeah.
kind of person. And I'm an only child. I'm very comfortable in solitude. I've traveled around a lot. I've been on my own a lot.
Mm.
So I don't know. I was.
Well, I mean, I'm the same as you. I was like, the drinking in the pub and the one. I used to have mates, and they'd always be like, "Right, are you gonna be there at 7 o'clock when I arrive?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what?" Like they wouldn't go in the pub on their own. There would have to be someone in there, and I'm
Well,
like, "Well,
yeah,
I've been here since 5." Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm already
yeah.
on it. Yeah, exactly the same. So what did you finish uni? Was that all
I did.
kosher, and you got your?
Just really, I got. Do you know what I got? I did German studies, and I
Oh,
did
right.
2 years in Hull, and my third year was in Hamburg. And I arrived in Hamburg for my third year, and I got a letter first week from Hull saying they'd kicked me off the course because I'd not failed passed my resits, and I kept that one on the down low from my parents. And I was told I could stay in Hamburg, experience the year, come back, and then I wouldn't graduate with honors. Um, and obviously in Germany, mate, I was a language assistant in a high school, and it sparked an interest in teaching. And I became a teacher in Spain for nearly 10 years, and I
Mhm.
loved it. And I was a good teacher. It's like the most fruitful and
Fulfilling, yeah.
fulfilling thing I've ever done at work. And but school finished at school starts at 7:30 in the morning in Germany, finishes at 1:30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very different. And I remember back then, I'd go to the U-Bahn, like the underground, and I'd sit at the station, and the school kids, and I'd have like two cans, one for one for now, and one for the
Yeah,
train. And I could see them looking at me. They were like 16, and I'd just been in a classroom with them, and they were like, "What the
yeah. What's this
So
guy on about? Yeah.
yeah, and I got up to all sorts of tricks in Germany, and they actually let me back on the course when I got back to Hull because I
Right.
think director of studies just knew I was a troubled soul, I think, and felt sorry for me. And I promised him I'd work my arse off, and I did.
Hmm.
And I got a 2-2 in the end and scraped out. And then within a week, I moved to London. Probably the biggest mistake of my life, I think.
London's a bit of a crazy city, isn't it? I mean, they're all crazy. I mean, we're talking Leeds, we're talking Manchester, Hull. I've stayed in them all, and they're all just bonkers mad. But I think London, the thing with London is, for me, when I was there, it's one of these cities where you can go out any night of the week and there's stuff on. It's every place is just bouncing at at like 5:30 on a Monday night, and it's like, right, well, why am I going home? I'm not going to go home. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Gary.
No, it was. I wanted to be in London. I wanted to. Do you remember This Life, that BBC Two drama?
Yeah, yeah. Andrew,
Andrew
um,
Lincoln,
Andrew Lincoln, yeah, yeah, and
Jack
the other
Davenport.
one, Jack Davenport.
Quite a lot of them have done well out
So
of
many of
that.
them. It was such a good show, do you know what I mean? But it was like that kind of this is how life should be, and yeah,
I was watching that in like little pretty orderly edge and thinking, I want to be there.
yeah,
I want to be
yeah.
there taking drugs and chasing girls and like just getting up to all kinds of antics. Because at that time, I was like, I want to be a mini Liam Gallagher.
Mm.
So when I graduated, I just went straight there. And honestly, Jimmy, it was the biggest mistake I ever made. I don't know what I thought, what I was thinking. I thought it just ate me up in no time.
Mm.
Payday loan companies,
Oh,
um, like broken relationships, fighting, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off work because of the shame, and it was just a cycle like that for nearly 10 years.
and what was
Relentless cycle.
where were you living in London? Sorry.
I lived in Streatham for about 6 years, then Wimbledon for 3, and then I moved to
Yeah.
Spain.
It's not cheap either, London, is it? So, you've got to be kind of earning, and yeah, it's a bit of a. Do you know what? I do love London. I wouldn't move back there, but I had good times there. But it was absolute carnage. So what made you decide to go to Spain then? Were you done with London?
Oh, I mean, I was done with London about 6 weeks in. Stayed for 9 years.
Yeah.
It was like the London experience was the darkest and the deepest time of my alcoholism. It was hideous. It was just like one big chunk of utter despair. I was miserable,
Mm.
hungover, scraping for cash, you know, eating bread and noodles for months. Like
But
silly
money for booze, that would come first, wouldn't it? Yeah.
payday loan companies just to drink. And
Yeah.
then I couldn't pay them back. And then the letters had come, and then I'd get and then I get paid, and I'd borrow money off people, and I couldn't pay it back, and it was just this cycle of it was insanity. It was fucking insanity, and I don't know,
Cash converters, did you use them much?
mate, all of that,
Yeah.
cashing checks and stuff. It
And
was
then not being able to like put something on a buyback and then not being able to buy it back. So you've sold, like I think I sold a camera, put it on. So you only get fraction of what it's worth. And then after the 30 days or whatever's up, and you've not got the money to pay it back. So you've literally sold your camera for a fraction of what it's worth. And it's like I could have just taken that and sold it for, twice or whatever. It
it
was
was just
horrible.
desperation,
Yeah.
desperation. I'd sell things and on I can't did Facebook Market on Gumtree. I'd sell stuff on Gumtree
Yeah.
for £8, and I'd buy 6 packs of noodles, Tesco value, for like £1.60. So the rest I could spend on booze.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I did care. I cared so deeply that was torture. But I don't know how many Mondays and Tuesdays in 9 years I missed off work.
Yeah.
And the shame going in on a Wednesday when when your boss knows
And you're probably still
full well,
stinking of booze as well. Do you know what I mean? It's
reeking,
letting out of you, so they know exactly what's going on. Yeah.
reeking. The last company I worked for in England before I left, um, I felt them all looking at me as I was walking in, going, "Oh, you poor bastard." I think it had gone beyond anger. It was just pure sympathy. Like, how is this lad, who
Yeah.
sober at work in the afternoon is like, "Oh, he's a bit of a crack. He's crack. He's good crack. He's a
Yeah.
personality. He's got something about him, And then,
Yeah. Which is why they
but like,
hired you in the first place. But then, this is going to. So, how old are you now? Then you're heading off to Spain and, saying goodbye to London.
well, I was 31 when I left. So my current partner, my life partner, Gabby, and I met um, in 2011, and it was just like, boom, day one. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to spend the rest of my life with this girl. I met her, and I reckon within about half an hour, I thought I want to spend the rest of my life with her. It was mental. It was just one of those. We've all had them, and
Oh, I
we
know it.
met.
I've got it now, and it's the best thing ever. We're getting married this year, so yeah, I'm not
Nice
letting it
one.
go, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, carry on, mate. Yeah.
No,
I
no.
just know because I heard the story on Sober Dave's One for the Road, and it's just a lovely story. So I'm glad you're kind of going to share that with us as well. So yeah, carry on, mate. It's
No,
lovely.
it was just this explosive like love bomb, and we just went to Valencia and ran away really because I had nothing in England apart from debt and drink
Mm.
really, and I was so depressed in London, so depressed, and I met her and it kind of invigorated me, and we went to Spain, and I thought that would fix all my problems really, and
Geographical.
geographical geographical attempt at sobriety or
Yeah.
whatever it was. But her and I were both party animals, and we got there, and the booze was cheap, and we got a good job quickly, like a proper prestigious teaching job at a private university, which I was my life nearly for 9 years. And but I was a 140 a beer.
Yeah.
I was just drinking all the time. I was drinking in the toilets at work. I was going to work at 7 a.m. because the bar was open,
Ugh.
drinking until 9, and then walking into classrooms. Anyway, so we broke up. Um,
Gary.
the story, I'll fast forward a little bit. She came back to England. I stayed in Spain,
Hmm.
drank for about another 9 months. I just drank myself. I drank myself stupid, really, to like deal with her leaving. And then, yeah, when I was 33, on the 15th of April, 2014, I rang AA when I lived in Seville.
Mm.
And then just to finish the story, in 2020, when COVID kicked off, her and I, do you know what, right? When I hit my rock bottom and the last day I drank, the first person I rang was her, even though like she was not
She was
wanting
gone,
to,
and yeah.
yeah, like I didn't know who else to talk to. And she galvanized me and she was like, come home, just come back to England and sort yourself out. Let your parents help you. I'll help you. You're an alcoholic. Like, let's not deny it.
How
And I was
long
like,
had you been split for at that point when you
but,
rang her?
oh, right. 9 months.
It's just still quite fresh, so it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I hadn't processed any of it. All I'd done was drink. All I'd done.
And did you slip
Relentless.
because of the drinking then?
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
it was just an untenable situation, and just the things I did, and like that. Oh, it was just a nightmare. But I was tortured about that. Just I'm not being nice to people.
Mm.
And then the kind of I'd always been a morning drinker, but it just exploded at that time. I was
Mm.
drinking 8% cans at 6 in the morning just to stop shaking, and
And was it
fucked.
always cans? Was it always lager with you, or did you? I mean, I'm sure it was all sorts of stuff, but was that your kind of tipple to go to?
I didn't give a fuck. If I opened the fridge and there was a bottle of Teachers in there and there's nothing else, I'd be like, yeah, all right, whatever. I didn't care. But
Yeah.
I'd say my favorite three drinks that I consistently drank were lager, strong lager, white wine, and I drank a lot of red wine as well, but white wine and gin if I was in the mood for,
Gin.
so that worked wonders for my happiness on a Saturday
Yeah.
night.
I mean, I would only drink gin, I think, if I was out and on town and it was like, and I thought I was being all kind of suave and interesting, I'd be having like a Bombay Sapphire and tonic, with
Yeah.
lime, not lemon. But like mine was vodka, and if the shop that I would go to had run out of vodka, probably because of me going every single day and buying all the vodka up, there would be gin next to it, and I would go and get some bottles of gin, and it was just neat. I would just be drinking it straight. So.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just nasty, but yeah. Um yeah, so you
So
phoned
she
AA, she kind of said come
she
home.
said just come home, but I was like, okay. So I went home with a can of Alhambra, which is like a Moorish castle in Granada, and it's like a popular drink in Spain.
Uh-huh.
And I got home with about that much left in the can. For those listening, about a third, and
Yeah.
I poured it down the sink.
Oh.
And there was something about, because that weekend I'd been an absolute knobhead to all of my friends in Granada. I lived in Seville. We'd gone away. I treated everyone like I'd been awful, and I
Mm.
had my rock bottom basically. I woke up on a Monday morning. I stole two cans out of my mate's fridge, and I tried to get back to my hostel, and I got lost. No battery in my phone, no money, just high stress, anxiety, just feeling like
Yeah.
could have jumped off the bridge. Really, rang AA the next day. 5 years later, during COVID, she messaged me, said, "Why aren't we together, dickhead?" And I came home.
And had you
I
been in
kept,
touch at all, like Facebook or Instagram and all that through the years?
yeah, we'd
Yeah.
stayed in touch. She had her first daughter with another fella, um, and I was getting updates on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nicely.
Yeah.
And now he's part of my life.
Yeah, which is
Him and I
amazing.
get on. Him and I get on great. So what
Yeah.
happened, right? And this is part of this is the success story of sobriety. When she contacted me, I came back during lockdown,
Mm.
and I just rocked up back into her life as an experiment, see if we could try again. And she
Yeah,
had her
yeah.
daughter, um, and the daughter's dad met me and thought, "Who's this?" I had hair down to my chin. He's like, "Who's this hairy, vagrant-looking?"
And had
No,
Gabby told him about you and your past and all that when they were together?
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so
I
he
think when I
kind of,
when I came back, he was like, "Oh, Spain, Gary. Oh, okay, this fella. I recognize his name, and I know I know it was serious."
yeah.
Anyway, they weren't together, but he lived down the road, and we met, and we just got on.
Mm.
And he saw I wasn't a threat to his life,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
that I was
And he's
sound
good,
around
and
him.
you're going to be good for his daughter.
You
So
know what I
yeah,
mean? Because I was sober. I was a normal human. I've been sober for 6 years. I was like sensible and mature,
yeah.
and I'd done all that. You know what? How sober? How long have you been sober?
4.5 years. So
Four and
yeah,
a half. Okay, so you've done the work. Like
I've
what?
done the work. I've done the
The,
fellowship and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah,
like the
and
work,
loads of
man.
stuff as well. It's not just that for me, but yeah. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, no, but the work, whichever way you do it, if you do it properly, you grow up a lot.
Oh,
Because what that chasm of like where you're supposed to be maturing, I didn't do any maturing in my 20s. I wasn't
no,
capable of it. All I
no.
cared about was I hope that debt collector will be gone before I go to work.
Yeah,
You know, I just existed in the here and now, survival mode.
yeah. What I would
And
do is I would basically like I would have moments where I would clear the flat up and I would get rid of all the cans and bottles and all that and all the debt collector letters or CCJs that had come through. I would rip them up and get rid of them. And then I was like, when the next lot come through, I'll deal with them then. Do you know what I mean? That was my mentality. Like I'm going straight and narrow now and I'm gonna deal with them. Not this time because I've tidied up. That's enough. But I'll deal with
yeah,
them when the next letters come through because they're not read yet or whatever. Did I fuck? They kept on coming and I would just be gone by that time. So yeah, but it's you got to do the work, and however you do it. For me, it was I started with NA rather than AA. Although drugs weren't a big thing for me, but it was like right, I like the kind of militancy of the fellowship for the first year, but then I was like, I need to start living my life. I don't want to be in a place where if you don't go to a meeting, you're going to relapse. And I hated that. Do you know what I mean? It worked for me for the first year, and I was like telling people that. And then I was like, no, no, hang on. I want to get back out there and start enjoying life again. So,
yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I'm a hyper optimistic person. Always believe something good's coming on, and I even felt like that when I was on it. I
yeah,
was convinced I'm going to get out one day. I'm going to get a job that I like one day. I'm going to live abroad one day. And all these things have happened. Do you know what I mean? Because I
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
told myself. But
yeah,
they just would have happened more frequently and in a more because Spain was the last chance in my head. It was like throw of the dice. So maybe I can live there and not
yeah.
be a fucking
Fuck it
loser.
up. Yeah. And did it
um,
work? Yeah. But you had an
like
experience, and that's the thing. And go back to what you said, like when I got sober in 2020 during lockdown, it was everything was new. And same as you, my maturity levels have just, skyrocketed. Okay, I still like a laugh and all that, but I didn't understand like my finances. Like this is the first time I've kind of lived on my own for like I've always stayed with like parents or like housemates or partners. So this is the first time, and I've been in this flat in this cottage. I've been in here 4 years, so I'm moving out next month. To move in with my fiance, and it's like, but I've loved it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
yeah, of
been all my
course.
own stuff and all of that, and I moved in here like I was about 10 months sober. So it was still early days to just be
Oh.
left on my own devices, but it's been absolutely brilliant. But yeah.
Well, 10 months sober and you get to that place, and look, wooden beams, it's nice and cozy,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
get a chance to heal and do it properly.
Yeah.
And I had that because I was working 7 months a year in Spain. So I'd work. So when I got sober in Seville, and after 5 months being sober, I asked for a transfer to Tenerife because I thought I need somewhere chill to like
Hmm.
start healing my broken head. And then I didn't stay there long. I moved to Barcelona, then La Coruña. I lived in 8 cities in 8 years, or 9 cities, or something like that. I've lived all over Spain, and every 6 months was packing a bag and leaving. You know,
And this is in
and
sobriety.
yeah, yeah. So I got sober in Seville, I had another 6 years of being sober in Seville, and that's when I grew up.
Yeah.
Became a really good teacher. Became a good person. You know, became inspiring to young Spanish, I say kids, 20 somethings,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like, oh, this is the kind of this. I fucking knew I had this in me,
yeah. But
and it was,
also your experience in life and remembering it. You know what I mean? Like I remember the last nearly 5 years of my life. Before that, it's all pretty vague. I'm trying to write a book about it, not like memoir as such, but it's like, I want to document it, even if it's just for me. But see, trying to remember some of the stuff, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like I want to go and ask some of the people, but it's like, are they still talking to me, or this,
mm,
that, and the other? So
yeah,
it's one of them ones, but now it's like experiencing life, and I'm sure you're the same. So yeah, 4,000 days today, is it, man? I saw your
yeah,
post
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Get in, Gary. That's amazing, man.
I was undecided because I thought I'm going to be 11 years sober in 2 weeks, and I thought, oh, which one shall I post? I'm like, fuck it, I'll do both.
Do both. Do both. I mean, I'm a day counter. Are you a day counter? Or well, obviously not every day on the calendar, but you've got an app, I'm sure.
I haven't. No, do you
No.
know what? I I don't even know. I didn't count. Honestly, didn't count because back then I got sober in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a shit iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a slow computer, and I worked 9 hours a day, and then at the weekends I just went to the beach or went walking.
Mm.
So I didn't really have. No, it's not access like now.
Well, everybody's got it, and it's like super fast, and everybody. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like any phone, even if you get the crappiest like Android or whatever, it will still do everything you need it to do. Yeah.
And I remember reading the big book that I got at the first meeting. I read it in a cafe in Seville over 2 days. And God, where was I going? What did you ask me?
Well, we were talking about counting days. That was it, and then
Yeah. And my early recollection of getting sober was, oh fuck me, thank God I got to bed and didn't have a drink today. That's really how I lived it. And that's kind of where Get to Midnight Go Again came from, which plastered all over
I love
my
that.
page.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I didn't get sober like most people, I don't think. I went to about 10 weeks of AA, and then I moved to Tenerife. I didn't know anyone. I
Hmm.
wasn't really confiding too much in my parents. I didn't know anyone at the uni. I just knew one guy. Um, I got on great, fine with them all. But Friday, I was just telling everyone I'm sober. I'm
When you
not coming
started a
out.
new job.
Oh, mate, I was like, I am Gary. I'm sober. I'm not drinking. I'm not coming out. Don't even try to convince me. I'll come for a coffee and then I'm leaving straight away. And
Yeah.
I just lived like that for a couple of years, just low key,
Well, it's
did the work.
accountability, isn't it? And like what? So what were you, 33,
I was
34?
33 when I quit. Yeah.
So kind of still a young age to be not going to the pub and socializing with people at work. So, good on you. But I guess the doing the kind of hermit kind of non-socializing thing kind of worked and it had to.
It had
It's
it had
easier
to.
for me when I was 40. So I came up here and like my family over here, and I met like some of the best people going to NA and they do the smart meetings and all that. And it was like, I didn't really know anyone in the island, but I remember after a couple of meetings walking down like the main street in Douglas. And like, I think one day I was with my mum and I bumped into about 4 or 5 people, but it was all a bit like friend of Bill's and all that kind of stuff. But it was
Yeah,
great because
yeah.
we're all shaking hands. It was like, holy shit, I know more people here than I have done in the last couple of cities I've lived in. And it was just, it was a great kind of experience. But I did have to kind of, I know it's not a word, but hermitize myself for the first couple of years. Like I would go out and see people, but it was just nice to just not have to socialize.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad someone else has said that because a lot of people say to me, "What you didn't go out for 2 years?" I was like, I had to not. I had to not.
I knew what would
Like,
happen if I did.
of course, I had to like have a period. I had to go back into socializing when I was ironclad sober.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
question about it. I didn't have a choice. I knew the temptation. I tried to go out one night.
uh-huh.
It was the 2014 World Cup, so that was the Brazil one. And a couple of my mates came over. I was about 5 weeks sober because to work, and they stayed at my gaff for the week. They were covering teachers, and we
Yeah,
went out one night and we watched I don't know, fucking Italy, Australia in a cafe in a terrace, beautiful setting, nice sun still shining. And my mate, one of my best mates, Marcos, he was like, "I'll get you through tonight. Come and hang out with us. I'll get you through tonight." And I did.
mhm.
And then on the Friday, they all went to a club, and and I went for 20 minutes, and I walked home. And I reckon that was a big decision that night. I was like, I can't be around these. I didn't know how to be. I
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah,
you go into a club, and if you're anything like I was, I used to get pissed so I could chat to girls and
yeah.
lose
You
the
you felt
inhibition.
like with me, like when I went to a club or a pub, mostly clubs, like I felt like drinking would kind of surround me in this force field, and I was invincible, so I could just talk to anyone and do anything, be wild and be crazy, and be myself or what I thought was myself.
Yeah,
Actual fact, it wasn't. It was just a knobhead.
yeah, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And I've realised it was an acute feeling. I thought, oh wow, I've got so much work to do on myself. I can't go anywhere near places like this.
Mm,
I can't be in environments like this. And I just went off. I just went down a rabbit hole. I went down a hole where I said, right, I'm going to remove the notification beer bottle sound on my phone for my messages. I'm gonna.
Was that like, yeah,
That
yeah,
was the one, and I changed it. I'm not going to walk down the supermarket aisle, the booze aisle, for a fucking long time. And it
yeah.
just little things like that. And I just got so into it that I did a reel the other day about I miss getting sober.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend said to me, it's not you miss getting sober, you miss the growth.
Mm.
Because the growth at that time in the first year too, where you like remature or mature for the first time, or I used to say reinvent yourself. But if you've been drinking for 15, a lady mentioned this on my page once, you're just inventing yourself. Because what the adult brain doesn't fully like set in until it's about 28, does it? I
No,
think.
no, yeah, yeah, you're right. So
So you
still kind of
start training
developing.
at 15, 16. You don't know who you are or what you are. You haven't got a fucking clue.
Yeah.
Um,
And you've built up
so
this
yeah, just,
socialize by drinking. So when you take that armor away from someone to socialize, they don't know. Like the last time I did that was when I was 14. So how am I meant to know how to do it as an
yeah.
adult? You know?
It's terrifying. I
It's
remember the first
brilliant.
time I had sex since I got sober. I remember it vividly, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. One of the only times you do remember it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I
Oh,
was
without a doubt, so much better.
absolutely terrified. I will stand up here. I'm a confident man, and I will say I was absolutely shitting myself.
Yeah, yeah. But it was wonderful, I'm betting.
33. It was good, man. It was all right. You know what I mean?
You got better. Yeah,
Um,
I know what you mean. Like the thing is, like, I mean, I
I got
suppose
better. Yeah, I
I
tried
thought,
to anyway.
yeah, I thought I was like this, yeah, amazing person in the sack, but really not at all. You know, and it's just drinking is just horrible when it comes to that.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I don't know.
I
It,
remember a friend of mine said to me when I was like she lived in Ireland and she'd come over and visit me and that and we go on walks and hikes and stuff. But she said to me, because I was happy doing my own thing up here because I needed to learn who I was again and
Mm,
like become the person that I was always meant to be and all of that. And you know, she was completely supportive of my and she didn't really drink at all. But she was like, you need to not let your recovery thing, yeah, like Recovery Jimmy wasn't I mean, it's not very big now, but it wasn't even as big as it is now. She was like, you need to not let recovery define you. And I was like, right, okay. But the more and more I think about it, do you know what? This is like, it's not everything I've got in my life, but if you look at a lot of people that go out at the weekend and all that, alcohol is completely defining them. So, you know, I think
mm,
like
yeah,
myself, people like you and all that, it doesn't completely define me, but I'm happy that some of my life is defined by recovery because if I can help other people, then that's the kind of way it goes. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah.
totally. I found that I felt like I had to define myself by recovery.
Hmm.
So everybody knew. So people were on the lookout for me, perhaps relapsing, or that I admitted the reality to myself. And I'm like, mate, you just have to live recovery for 2 years, however long it'll take, until you start feeling normal. I remember when I moved to Barcelona, I started to feel a bit more like, hey, I can go out now and, you know, drink sparkling water and just chat shit to people. Um, but yeah, I mean,
I think I wanted to prove to people by putting it out. Not that I did this for myself, and that's the main thing. It's the last selfish thing I think that we do as alcoholics is we've got to do it for ourselves. So, you know, we're not doing it for our friends, family, or loved ones or anything like that. You got to do it for yourself and then, you know, start to be, you know, giving back to other people. But I think I did it so outwardly because I wanted to, well, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of being sober and recovery, but
yeah,
I wanted to stick a couple of fingers up to people that didn't think I could do it. Do you know what I mean? There was people that were like, he's never going to get sober because
yeah,
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 I did many attempts at it, and it was like it was years long thing, you know, near a decade of trying to get sober, and then thinking I'm buying and you know going way back into it deep. But I just wanted to go, nah, do you know what? I've done it, and because you know that last time, I knew this was it, and I'd done it, and you
hmm
know, and it's like so many years on. Like I heard you talking the other day, and it was like I don't think about it. It doesn't, people drinking around me doesn't bother me. It's not about that. It's more, I just don't like it as a well, what do they call it? Is it like a Alberta pastime? It's like I just
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not one for endorsing drinking. So yeah. Do you
No,
think it still has a place in our society?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, the things I've discovered about alcohol that I didn't know before I started Sober and Sound have blown my mind. Like
Yeah.
how poisonous and how damaging and how cancerous it can, carcinogenic and cancer causing it is. And I look at obviously spending so much time like trying to think of content and inspiration and whatnot.
Mm.
You do look at a lot of other content and listen to podcasts, and it, it's people's choice. I wouldn't want to take that away from them, but what is the point?
Yeah, what is
Yeah.
the point? And but why are people not being told? I know they can go and research, but you have to really go and dig to find that it's bad for you. People don't know it. Like smoking tells you everywhere. You know what I mean? Packets tell you, they show you. But like with alcohol, it's like you have to really dig for it. And when you tell people, I know that they're just going, oh yeah, whatever, but you know, that'll be way down the line. No, no,
Mm.
no, it's doing damage to you every drink you have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is becoming prolific and almost you know, epidemic status with after COVID, the amount of people that have, I think um the amount of people with alcohol problems in this country has just risen so sharply after COVID because people were
Yeah.
sat at home doing nothing.
Oh, and if you've already got a proclivity to like a bevy, and then suddenly all you can do is sit around your house,
Yeah,
there'll be people that won't have recovered from COVID. No
yeah,
way. I mean, the
yeah.
numbers of death last year, I think what we know, March, yeah, it must have been last year's figures were the highest ever of deaths from alcohol. Although, like the young ones are maybe shunning it, they're obviously doing other things, but they are shunning alcohol. The deaths are still going up. So, how's it got a place in society? Yeah, how we can't take people are adults. You got to let them.
And a lot of people can do it sensibly. Do you know what I mean? My missus, she doesn't drink really to excess at all. In fact, I don't think she's really drunk at all this year. You know, I'm not saying she's jumped on my sober bandwagon, but she definitely. I think I've only seen her merry a couple of times in our relationship, and we're going out in the 2 years. So it's kind of she's not a big drinker, but you know, there are people out there that do drink maybe quite regularly, but they don't get shit faced and they don't, you know, they know where their limit is. I don't know
Yeah,
what that's like, but
no, well, exactly that. Yeah, I never had that limit. So, but the
yeah.
people that like your partner, she is just has a normal relationship with alcohol, and that's how it should be enjoyed. And it's not fair to take it away from people like her and my mum, who has never used the word moderating. People that have drink problems don't use the word moderating because they're not thinking
Yeah.
about the fact that they're drinking too much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's they're not moderating, they're just drinking. You
Yeah,
know, that's what they do. Like I think my mum will have. She started noticing now. She's you know getting on a bit, and I think if she does have a couple of glasses of wine at Christmas or whatever, she'll get a bit of a headache even before she goes to bed. So she started mixing it
mm,
with lemonade and that, and I'm like, you don't need to drink, mum. You know, like you're not
yeah,
like for me. I don't understand people that are just drinking a couple of drinks and not getting leathered. Like I don't see the point in it. It's like, well,
same here.
why don't you just drink water? You get the same effect. I know they'll get probably a little buzz on, but I'm like, for me, it was like I was only drinking to get completely shit faced. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
of course.
yeah,
Well, I also the dopamine chase, if you are perhaps neurodivergent, it's so hard to switch off. The minute you get that first one, what is it they say? I never get it the right way around. One is too many and a thousand's not enough.
yeah, yeah. One's
Because
too
you know
many
what it's
times,
like when it's
never enough.
4 o'clock in the morning and you're at an afters and the pills are wearing off. I was the kind of person like, oh God, I just do neck a couple of beers now.
Yeah.
Anytime, any place, anywhere.
I
Okay.
mean, that's the thing. Like, I used to, I mean, we'd go out and then like, a lot of my mates would be sitting smoking weed for the come down. And I was like, and I'd given up smoking weed like many moons ago. I'd have the odd joint here and there, but for me, it was like I would just drink through the come down
Mm,
because then we'd go out for a fundy Sunday, and by that time, you know, we'd have a roast and all that. and I'd be absolutely hell on the Monday and probably not going
Oh,
to work.
that's exactly the same Sundays as mine. Sitting in the pub watching the Premier League 4 o'clock game, thinking when this game finishes, my life is over. Because 6:30 on a Sunday, once the punditry's done, there is nothing to live for.
I
I
mean,
think.
I'm not a big football fan, but I know exactly what you mean. It's like that Sunday night thing. We went to this. This will make you laugh. So, don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, probably 15 years ago, somebody set up a Facebook post to say because they were sick of all the X Factors getting to Christmas #1, and they said if we can get Killing in the Name of by
Oh, I
Rage
do
Against the
remember.
Machine to
Yeah,
Christmas #1. So then
yeah,
Rage Against the Machine got into this and they came over. They said we'll do a free gig in London if we get to #1. And they did. It was up Finsbury Park. And I think it was actually one of the World Cup games. It was the World Cup 2012. Um and I think it was England playing. So we're down London Fields and we're drinking through the park. Beautiful day, and somebody had the idea to go up. Said let's go up Finsbury Park. We didn't have tickets. It was a free gig, but you had to register and get the tickets and go in.
yeah.
So we went and we thought we'll just sit outside and we can hear it anyway. So we got up there with all our tinnies and a few other little things and all that, and then these people in front of us, we were just sitting on the heath, and they started like basically pushing. Eventually, just all the barricades were pushed in, so we all just got into this gig, and it was a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Honestly, we ended up going to this club, and I remember walking down the main road in Finsbury Park, and there was people on top of double-decker buses as they were driving down. It was just everybody had just gone mad because I think it was getting towards the end of summer. It was like the
Yeah.
last beautiful day, and it was just madness. And I was just like, I've got to go to work tomorrow. Obviously, I didn't because, I didn't go to bed. But it was just like
Yeah,
it was only meant to be a little quiet afternoon, and then we
yeah.
ended up going to Rage Against the Machine. It wasn't me on top of the bus, but yeah, yeah.
Oh, but the kind of band
So
would get you on the bus.
yeah. Well, that's it. So I mean, why do you think? I mean, I know you touched a little bit at the beginning, but why do you think you did kind of drink to excess, or do you think that we're kind of disposed to do it, or what are your kind of thoughts on it?
I think I've ruminated over years, but I would say in the last couple of years, the penny dropping on having ADHD,
Mm,
um, I can trace a lot of things back to just pure dopamine chase, non-stop, relentless. And I
yeah,
still got it now, scrolling, chocolate, stimming, like well, it's just fucking mental.
yeah,
And
yeah,
to pour, I must have just wanted some relief from the washing machine head.
yeah, yeah. Because
Uh,
as we drink, the more the dopamine gets depleted, so we have to keep topping
yeah,
it up because unless you're having time off from it to let it regulate itself, it's not gonna fill back up. We've got to fill it
no,
back ourselves, haven't we?
exactly. I mean, I think it was that a combination of like just social and environmental
Mm,
reasons, the time,
hmm
the relationship I had with certain friends and my dad that would involve pub at too young an age,
mm,
and it just always been acceptable. But I feel like I had a chemical disposition to just love it. I remember
yes.
being at a party. Do you remember Carling Premier? It was like Caffrey's in texture.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I never liked Carling because it was like it was just horrible piss water. Yeah, but
Right.
Carling Premier was it like an ale?
It was like creamy. It was a bit like Caffrey's, and I used to
Right,
love
right.
drinking stuff like that. Even at that age, I go to a party and drink John Smith's. Everyone thought, "What
Yeah.
the fuck are you doing,
I did
Grandad?"
love Caffrey's. Caffrey's was like rocket fuel when it first came out on tap, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and then they dropped it,
They
didn't they? And
dropped it.
it was
Yeah,
outrage. Yeah, because
yeah.
what did I drink? I drank things like Caffrey's and Kilkenny and all those things. And but I remember being at a party. I was still at school,
Uh-huh.
so I was no older than 17, 18, and drinking four Carling Premiers and walking to the off license. And at 15, I could get served quite dark.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember going to the off license, walking in my own village, a sunny afternoon, and thinking, like, 5 p.m. sunny, and thinking, oh, oh, fucking hell, why does no one else drink like me? I knew it already. I could tell just looking around thinking, yeah, they're just happy,
Yeah.
happy, boo, boo, boo. And I
They're
was like,
still in their
oh,
first can
this
and you've
is,
nailed four. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think there was I think ADHD, environment, and just the social element and the time and
Yeah. The 90s have
and
got a lot to answer for. But the thing is, Gary, I don't
totally.
have, and this is another one of my questions. So like I don't regret any of it. You know, that's the thing. Like I don't have any, like I always say, if you could go back and change and say to your 14, 15-year-old self, right, this is what you're going to end up an alcoholic, you know, blah, blah. You go that path and continue drinking, but you can go this path where you don't drink, you know. And I would always take the drinking path because
Same, yeah.
who I am today. Do you know what I mean? And let's be honest, I've upset some people in the past, but you know, I've still got all my health, my family still love me, and I haven't killed anyone, you know, to my knowledge. So yeah.
You know,
Same.
if I hadn't followed that path, I wouldn't have enjoyed Primal Scream at Hammersmith Apollo that turned into a 4-day bender. You know, I wouldn't have moved to Spain on a whim with a beautiful
Yeah.
woman. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have,
Who you're now with, you know, that might not
yeah,
have happened. It's sliding doors, isn't it?
yeah. So like, no, I'm not that type. I'm not one to look back. I'm one to look forward, and I had a lot of good fun.
Yeah.
And this is my path, man.
Yeah.
If if when I started Sober and Sound, my intention was to kind of commemorate my 10 years by giving back because I didn't really have the time to do, you know how people talk about doing your 12,
Hmm.
giving back. And obviously I didn't get that far down the line with it. I just did it my own way. But I felt like such a shitbag for so long, doing anything altruistic or good for anyone as a drinker, that when I got sober, I was like, one day I'm going to do something great for other people.
Hmm.
And when it started, I wasn't expecting the kind of response to it. The response has been amazing. And I'm now thinking, right, how can I take this to the next level?
Hmm.
I feel like I'm in a position now, if I attack growing sober and sound, I can change a lot of people's lives. I know I can.
Yeah.
I know I can. The response I get, the messages I get, you know, the reaction to Craig and I talking and being like proper raw and open.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, it's your time, man. You've got to be a spokesman for this
Mm.
because people identify with it, and what you say is resonating. So maybe I was supposed to go through that to then, in my 40s and 50s, you know, save a lot of people's lives. I'm
Yeah.
cool with it. I'm cool with that, and it's been a journey. It was a right laugh as
I,
well. I'm
I
not.
yeah, that's the thing. Like there's many times where I proper royally fucked up and did some pretty heinous stuff, but it wasn't every single day. Towards the end, it was kind of more or less every single day, and that's why I had to kind of draw a line in the sand and go, right, I have to do this. But yeah, I had some good times, man. I met some amazing people, and I've got all the stories to hopefully remember and write down about it. And that's
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing, you know. And I think, yeah, like the sober stretch and sober and sound, and Craig, is he come off Instagram or is he still on
He's
there?
using it less. I think he's probably going to be more involved just through the sober stretch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's an amazing podcast, Gary. I love it. It's
Thank you.
just, do you know what I mean? It's just real, it's raw. And like you, I set up my Instagram because I thought I want to kind of hold myself accountable. So for
Mm.
the first bit, I just kind of was posting every day on it, just doing my day count and all that, and that was holding me accountable. And then it kind of just resonated with a lot of people, and I think that's what it is. You know, like as I say, I did the fellowship for a bit, but it's called Anonymous. It's Narcotics Anonymous, Alcohol Anonymous. Like I don't want to be anonymous, and I don't think we should have this stigma over us anymore. It's like we're not bad people. You know, we never were bad people, but even actually now that we're sober, why are you still keeping us anonymous? Do you know what I mean? Why does society want to still keep us in the darkness, in the shadows? And it's like because they're embarrassed, you know?
Yeah, and I think the problem for me I found was that, oh, I have to be an alcoholic for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I don't identify with that really. Well, not at all. That's why I went out my way to call myself consistently a former alcoholic because I feel like the work done.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh yeah, but if you have one drink, it'll be ruin again," and it will be.
Hmm.
But the first drink won't happen because I did it the right way. I know I won't drink again. I know
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
okay, who knows what will happen in the future?
Yeah.
You know,
But for today, and you
but
know,
I
like
know
next
deep
week and the
down that
week after, yeah,
I'm fine, and I
yeah,
don't identify with that idea. But people, AAers, will call me out on that occasionally,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, that's fine, you go for it. But you know, in the same way that Alex Ferguson is the former manager of Man United, I'm a former alcoholic. It's done. It's a long time ago, and you know,
I don't. I mean,
unfortunately, I'm not struggling, and United are.
I use I use that term only kind of like, to kind of fill a void. I don't call myself, if anything, I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. I did use it for many times. 'Cause in NA, we'd be like, my name's Jimmy and I'm an addict, and that was me for many years. But I'm just I I think you mentioned in one of your podcasts, like you don't want to be 57 and sitting in a church room saying I'm Gary and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I don't want that to define my life in that way that,
Mhm.
I'm a dour-faced alcoholic and it's like I need to be at the because I've met people that when they go on holiday and they go to other places in the world, like if they're going to like, Marbella for 2 weeks with their family, they have to find a meeting. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why are you not better? You know?
I think that's it. The thing for me, I didn't want to be. It almost felt like a rope around my waist. Oh no, no, you have to come back here. You know, pulling
Yeah.
you back, and I'm like, I'm ready to cut this, and I'm ready to run and fly. I just didn't identify with that lifelong tag, and and yeah, yeah.
It was
My
amazing for
way was
me for
my
that.
way.
Yeah. It was amazing for me for that first year, but then and I liked that kind of military style. Nobody's talking while you're talking and blah blah blah. But then I was doing smart on the other side of that. I don't know if you've done smart. Smart's just the kind of free for all. People, kind of they give their advice while it's going around the room and all that. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying when you've done NA the day before and you're like, why are these people talking over
Oh,
me?
that would drive me insane.
Yeah, but it's the way it is, and but I mean, most people kind of they do know when to shut up and when not to, and that. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no, but I like that about AA. I liked how serious it was, and
yeah,
I needed that at the time. I'm not denigrating AA. I would not be
no,
sober without AA. AA saved my fucking life. You know, AA was exactly the intervention I needed, and those weeks were enough to make me think, can I do this on my own?
yeah.
Because I'm going to have to. Because I'm going to Tenerife and I don't know anyone.
Well,
so
this is it, and it's
so let's
the
test
same.
myself.
Good.
No, I said so. Let's test myself. Let's
Oh,
see if I
yeah,
can do it. You know.
yeah, yeah. And you did, and that's it. And it's what is it? 11 years in 2 weeks. What's the
Two,
date?
two and a half, 2.5 weeks, 15th of April, yeah, 11 years.
Oh wow, wow. And how do you feel? Are you happy,
About,
Gary? Are you happy?
I'm happy, yeah. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm not happy. No, I find it hard to identify with happy because I find so much of my adult life as a drinker was unhappy.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of 2 or 3 years of sobriety where I wasn't happy. I was coping and I was growing, but I don't think I was happy.
Hmm.
And I think with my ADHD, it's unmedicated, and I don't. I'm at a crossroads with it now. I think I need to really think about what I'm doing with it because it
Hmm.
does infiltrate my life too much. Um, I'm content. I'm fucking content, and I have been for ages, and that's cool. And when
That's
happiness
cool.
comes, I'll grab it and have a little flirtation with it. Like, yeah, sweet, this is nice, but ain't it? Because I think I realized in early sobriety that I didn't really find out about a lot about myself, just
Yeah.
more about life as well. And I thought, oh, life is suffering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not easy, is it? Do you know what I
I
mean?
didn't realize
There's
that. I thought it was supposed to be a
yeah,
piece of piss.
yeah, no. I
So I'm
mean, I
cool with the
don't think
suffering.
yeah, and I think the drinking thing just kind of shields us from all that reality. That's probably why we did it. Like I worked in offices and I did some really weird and wonderfully shitty jobs. Do you know what I mean? Call centers, worked in many bars and all that. So I was completely unfulfilled in my life and my work and probably relationships as well. And I just drank. Do you know what I mean? It was just pure escapism and not
Mhm.
wanting to deal with the real world. And that
Yeah.
kind of but now I'm enjoying the real world and I'm yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm content, but do you know what? I am happy. I'm getting married this year and we do have our I'm not saying Jen and I, but like life is it's ups and downs. You know what I mean? Some days I'll be like, wow, I'm driving to work and I'm like, I really feel a bit shit. Do you know what I mean? I feel a bit down. And it's like, I know that that's going to pass in a few days or even that day. You know, it doesn't last. But in the past, I would have just drank on that.
But again, that's something you learn through sobriety, isn't it? That like I got deeply into meditation very quickly, and the idea of impermanence,
Hmm.
it just takes a lot of the edge off the pain.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're able to think, well, this will pass. Same way the craving passed in April 2014. The same way the pain of breaking up with that girl when I was 27 passed. You know, it just all passes. None of it stays forever.
Hmm.
So I don't feel. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Got a lovely family. Live right on the beach.
Yeah,
Love.
you got a little daughter and a stepdaughter, haven't you? Yeah.
Got a 3-year-old and a daughter and an 8-year-old stepdaughter.
Nice,
You know,
nice.
I like where we live. I've got Sober and Sound to me is like my baby now. It's an exciting project that I
Yeah.
think has got legs.
Just
Um,
it's just coming up. Well, what is that? About a year? Have you been going a year now?
I've gone beyond a year now. Yeah,
Beyond a
about
year, yeah.
13 months, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And whereabouts? Sorry, where are you living now?
Worthing near Brighton.
Nice, way down there. Yeah, yeah, cool. And would you
Very
say?
happy here.
I know this is probably I've probably asked already, but it's another question. Would you say you regret getting sober?
Oh man, best thing ever did.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met. Well, I've definitely never met anyone that said that they regret getting sober, and I don't think there is. And if there is, I don't want to meet them. You know, if
No, no,
someone's regretting
there
getting
is that.
sober,
Yeah.
like, yeah. Have you got any advice that you'd want to, apart from obviously, log on to, is it sober sound and the
Yeah,
sober stretch?
yeah.
Um,
Sober and sound.
yeah. So what advice have you got? People that are maybe, just starting out in the journey or sober curious or yeah, just wanting to have a kind of different way of life.
I've got two bits of advice. Let it go. You've
Let it.
maxed it. I say that quite often. Let it go. What are you holding on to? Who are you trying to kid?
Yeah.
Um, it's okay. Most people have or have had issues with drink. You're not alone. Get it off your fucking chest and go and tell someone. Because my advice to no one cares about your life as much as they care about their own. So no one's spending all their day worrying about how much of a piss artist you are. It might pop into their heads now and again that, oh, he said or did that recently, but no one gives a shit. So get your finger out your ass and go to a fucking meeting or tell someone that you love and get the ball rolling because it won't be as bad as you think. And the other thing I'd say is it's worse in your imagination than it is in reality.
Mm.
Getting sober is easier. The actual process of it is much easier than the 15 years of thinking, oh, I can't live without this.
Yeah.
So just own up to it, let it go. And honestly, the weight that you'll know the weight when you just admit it to yourself.
Hmm.
Because there's one thing knowing you're an alcoholic and one thing accepting it, isn't there?
Oh,
Because you can't do anything with the knowledge of it. You can't really do anything, but the acceptance of it is step one, really. So it's
yeah.
cliched advice, but it is, there's a community out there. People are willing to, strangers are willing to talk to you, give you love, reply to your comment,
Mm.
you know,
Oh,
reply to your DM,
yeah, the
own it.
Instagram community is just unbelievable. I'm sure there are toxic accounts out there, but I haven't come across them and I've not come across any toxic comments or messages, and it's just this community of just pure love, support and hope. And it's just like everyone's going, yeah, come on, like let's get sober. There's a guy I know and he's struggling a bit. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. I'm not going to say his name, but he just seems to get like a couple of weeks or maybe a month, and then it's like, but he keeps picking himself back up, and people are commenting and going, "Come on, you can do it." And it's like, I've said to him like, if he gets 2 months, come on the podcast, mate, because I want to see him get to 2 months, and I know he will, but he's just got to, as you say, let it go, and he'll be all right.
Yeah, because the
Yeah,
FOMO is just bollocks, isn't it?
yeah,
After about 6 months, you're too busy like, getting on with your life to be feeling sad about not watching some shit football match in the pub. It's
yeah.
just
That whole
it's
thing about, and I did as well, because sometimes I got sober. I guess in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, I am going to drink again. I'll get sober for a bit, but I knew I was going to have a drink at some point. So I'd maybe be sober for a month or a week or a day. But like the last time I got sober, and it was like I knew I had to, and I knew this was it, and it was like right. So I knew now, yeah, I'm never going to drink again. But before it was like, and it's like, why can we not fathom never having a drink again? That's the hardest part. Like, it's just accepting that you're never going to have a drink again. And once you do that, it's fine because you don't need it. We don't need it.
You don't, and you can break the patterns. It's
Yeah, yeah.
people break the patterns every day, so you can too.
Just rewire it. Yeah.
Like
I think
who
I think
who's been so who's uh, Charlie Sheen's the obvious one. Anthony Hopkins, Robin Williams. If Charlie Sheen, if
Robert Downey Jr., he was
Robert Downey
top
Jr., if
end.
all these people can get sober, you see all these Hollywood people that look like car crashes when they get into the drugs. Loads of these recover,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
they've got public scrutiny and all eyes on them and
Yeah.
judgment and getting slated in the press. If people under that duress, I know you don't need money to get sober. People go, oh, they've
No,
got money for rehab. You don't need fucking
no. You've
20
just got
grand to
you've
get
just got to
sober.
keep get this right, and then
Yeah.
and for the listeners, I'm pointing at my head, not anything else. And yeah, you just got to get that right, and it doesn't matter. I mean, look at Matthew Perry. In fact, I read his book, and I think it was like 2 months later that he died. So it was like fucking
Mm.
hell. And just reading his book, he was just an absolute mess, but he just kept on not being able to get it. And it was just it doesn't matter if you've got money. It doesn't make you get sober and keep you sober. You've got to sort your head out.
You need a desire to stop drinking. You need people around you. You need a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I find I talk about that a lot. I'm going to do more content on that coming up. Um, you need to plan. You can't just wake up and go, "No, I'm not going to drink today." It doesn't work like that. You got to wake up and go, "Right, what the fuck am I going to do for the next hour to like lower the adrenaline, whatever." Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
meditate,
yeah.
calm my
Like,
mind. I'm going to like be grateful. All the classic cliched things, they work,
yeah, you
and,
can't
and
just
you
sit
need
and go on.
no, I was just going to say you need a pair of balls as well. You need to have
Yeah,
courage,
yeah.
and a lot of people don't have that because of life. Life's beating them up so much that they don't have the required amount of courage or bravery to take that
Mm.
first step. And sometimes all it is the first step. I don't know if I hadn't phoned that AA meeting, AA in Seville. I don't know what had become of me, but I found it in me to make the call.
Yeah. I mean, if I hadn't got to, there's a company over here, a charity called Motivate. Well, I've completed my peer mentoring training, so I'm working for them on a kind of we do one kind of morning out every 2 weeks. There's a few of us that do it. And if it wasn't for Motivate, I don't know if I'd be here. Do you know what I mean? Because that was the
Yeah.
kind of kick up the arse that I needed to get me into meetings and doing all that. And if I hadn't had that kind of support and just kind of good people around me to say, you know what, we've been here before. I'd been to AA before and I'd done other meetings before, but it wasn't the right time for me. Those meetings would have been fine, but it wasn't right for me at that point. And then when it was right and all the stars aligned and it just worked. So, I mean, yeah, I think as you say, um, they've just got to let it go. And if it doesn't work for them the first time, just keep trying. I think Robert Downey Jr. said he was on like Oprah or something like that, and this was years ago, and he said, "Oh, giving up drugs and alcohol's easy," and everyone was like, "Wow, wow, is there a real going about it?" And everyone was like shocked by him saying it's easy, and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, like stopping it is easy. It's the after that's the hard part. Doing all the work, sitting with your thoughts, doing the mental kind of breakdown of yourself and who you are and all that. That's the hard work. But giving up
Yeah.
alcohol, um, that's the kind of easy part."
But that's what the hard work is also the gift. It's the reward. It's
Yeah,
beautiful to get sober.
yeah,
You learn so much about the world and yourself and others, and you
yeah.
create a better world when you get sober.
Do you know, I'm a gardener, right? And I used to
Oh,
do a lot of
wicked.
veg and things like that. But I remember my first spring sober, and I was like, ah, the daffodils are out. And I was like, And then the bluebell. And I did not know the order of all these things. Like this, obviously now it's like snowdrops, daffodils, like bluebells and the tulips and all that. But I had no idea. I just saw, I remember in my past life and seeing daffodils. I didn't associate daffodils with spring. I don't know why,
Mm.
but it was just because I was
Yeah.
always in this kind of stupor. Like I was seeing things, but nothing was going in. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure if someone had said to me, when did daffodils come out like 10 years ago, I'd be like, summer. Do you know what I mean? And it makes me feel
Yeah, yeah.
so ignorant and stupid now. But I don't honestly think I knew that that's when daffodils came out in spring. It's mental,
Drinking
isn't
makes you ignorant.
it?
Drinking dulls your brain. It prevents you from learning because you're too busy in the pub or getting pissed or recovering or thinking about the next one or hiding the last one.
Mm.
Drinking just there's nothing good about drinking. The,
No,
the,
nothing at all.
the good
And
thing
then,
about drinking is tipsy. That is the tip. Being tipsy is about as good as it gets.
yeah, that initial bit where you feel like, yeah, life's good. I feel like I can talk hind legs off donkey and all that. I've got the banter, but then
Yeah.
another pint down, and you're like, what did I say? I don't.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a mess.
I'm going to tell
Um,
you you're a bell end, and I've never actually thought that in my life, but I'm going to say it right in your eye, and I'm going to say it like I've never meant anything more ever. And then in the morning, you're going to ask me why I did that, and I won't have a clue because I don't even mean it.
no. And all the stuff like when Facebook came out and all that, and all these messages that I'm sending or writing on people's walls and all that, and it's like, fuck,
Oh man, we've
it's
had a
like.
very similar life, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's just waking up and going, oh, I'm gonna have to call Facebook for a month or so, or not even
Yeah.
that, not even pissing people off. I get messages from people saying, "Were you pissed up last night?" I'd be like, "Why?" And they go, "Oh, all your political rants on Facebook, you're gonna save the world and this, that, and the other," and it's like, fucking hell.
Oh god,
Yeah.
mine were a bit. Yeah, mine were. I used to wake up and think, oh god, I couldn't even look at it. You
Mm,
know, they used to get the because back then I used to do it all on the computer, and you see the little red notification at the top
yeah,
of like, oh, 17. I'm like, fuck, what have I
yeah,
said?
yeah.
That's
How
no way
many?
to live because that's just highly elevated anxiety at all
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Like how many people have I poked? Do you remember you could poke people on
Joking,
Facebook?
yeah. Oh god.
Oh, it's bad. Hey, Gary, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to kind of share with the listeners? I put all your
Um,
details in the show notes. Um,
um, please. All I'll say is two things. The Sober Stretch podcast will be back very soon with guests. We'll be a week or two away. And I'm working on loads of stuff. So I'm only just kind of getting started, really. So watch
yeah,
this space. I would say autumn time. I think there'll be something quite exciting in the
cool,
offing.
cool. I
So I hope
like it,
people.
mate. This is, I mean, it's a great age what you've got. I love your branding and the colors and all that, and like just get to midnight, go again. It's fucking simple and it's great. I
Cheers.
think in the AA they always used to say, just get your head on the pillow tonight, and and then do it again tomorrow and that. But get to midnight, do it again. Boom, it's there. Does exactly what it
Well,
says
to
on
me,
the
it's
tin.
it's more. It seems I always felt like one day at a time felt a bit like plodding and clinging on and like hoping to fuck. Whereas to me, it was just like smash through the day and then go and do it.
It's a trudge. It's a
That's it.
trudge. That's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Smashing it. Yeah.
Get
Um,
sober through belligerence.
I like
Is
it.
my
I
is
like.
my that, I'll leave you with that. Get sober through belligerence.
Yeah. Well, I'll put that as the headline on it. This will be out in got one next week, and then yours will be out the following week. So it'll be a week before your 11th year birthday, sober birthday. So yeah,
Lovely.
yeah. But I'll
Very
be in
nice.
touch when it's coming out, and we'll just market the shit out of it, put it out there to everyone, mate, and we'll get it out
Awesome.
because you've got an amazing page, mate. You're just a legend on Instagram and the podcast. So thanks for coming on today, mate. It's been great to kind of finally chat to you and spend some time with you. So yeah.
Thanks for inviting me. It's ironically, and I've read this about your manner many times. It's like being in the pub.
Well, yeah, yeah, it's a little bit like that, I guess. The dry pub, that's it.
Dry the dry arms.
Dry arms, I like it, I like it. Yeah,
Brilliant.
cheers, Gary. Take it easy
Thank you.
and chat to you soon, man. Bye
Peace.
bye.
Thanks, Gary. Amazing, brilliant conversation. A few things I was. He's coming up for 11 years, so he's had 10 years last year. 11 years on the 15th of April. So sorry for adding an extra year onto your sobriety, Gary, but 11 years is amazing. Again, there's a little issue with the sound on my side, so I'm not sure whether it's my microphone or connection, so I'm going to have to really kind of try and iron that out. Not really sure what the issue is at this point, because it seems to be fine while we're recording and chatting, and then it's just on the playback, bit of an issue, so apologies on that. I hope it doesn't take too much away from the listening, and I'm not losing some listeners because of the sound, but as I say, Gary and me were very similar, drinking wise, always kind of wanting to be the last one standing, or not sure why people were not drinking as much as us. We were always wanting to push that limit, and other people would be like, well, we've had a skinful, we're going home now. And then it's like, nah, I'm gonna keep going. So I would find, other people to go and drink with. So it's probably just as well that Gary and I didn't, bump into one another when we both lived in London. Not sure if we were there at the same time, but yeah, it's better now to make friends with people in sobriety, because you can talk about the bad times, and life is just good. So yeah, as I say, Gary's got an amazing page. It's at Soberton Sound on Instagram. He also does the podcast the Sober Stretch, which is on Spotify and YouTube, because you can watch on Spotify and YouTube. You can watch him and Craig, and yeah, it's great. It cracks me up, and it really just the two of them were both real bad alcoholics, bit of this, bit of that, drinking in the morning, taking days off work. So I can completely kind of resonate with them, and they're just a great couple of lads. So I've just seen today that his season 2 of the podcast is starting, I think, on 16th of April. So yeah, a couple of weeks from now, and this will be out just before then. So yeah, if you're listening, check out Gary's podcast and his Insta page. That's about it from me. Sober Spring is obviously still going. You don't have to join on the 21st of March. It's just ongoing. So if you're kind of struggling, and you think the Sober Spring, Sober Season sounds good to you, have a look at my Linktree, and send me a request and I'll add you. As I say, it's a great little support network, and loads of people on there just kind of, chatting with each other and helping each other stay sober. Please follow my page on, Spotify, Apple, Audible, Amazon, wherever you're listening, Castbox or whatever they're called. Follow, listen, and send me a little review or hit the 5-star review button. So yeah, just helps people kind of, know what they're getting into, or if it's the right podcast for them. So yeah, please do that. And until then, stay safe, stay supportive, and stay sober. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.